to the Haldane reorganization meeting, July 5, 2019. At this time, I would ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Clements?
Here.
Trustee Daly?
Here.
Trustee Headland?
Here.
Trustee McNall?
Here.
Trustee Parr is on her way. Okay. At this time, I'd like to do the Trustee Parr.
Here.
Thank you.
Just as your name was called.
Perfect,
Parr.
thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to do the oath of office for the superintendent of schools.
Sure.
And he will give it to me. Okay. I'm a little
Don't fall.
nervous.
So I'm reciting the top one. I, Philip Benante, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Superintendent of Schools for the Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now it's my turn.
Yes.
And I will say it to you. I, Julia Famularo, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of District Clerk for the Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I would like to call Sean McNall up to take the oath of office. Okay. If you would read this one, please.
Great. I, Sean McNall, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of trustee for Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask you to sign.
Handsome book.
Yes, this is the very old book. Just sign it right here. I can film right here. Thank you. Okay. Next. Congratulations. And I'd like to call Jennnifer Daly up to take her oath of office. As you may recall, Ms. Daly was reelected, and her term began July 1st. There you go. This is for you.
I, Jennnifer Daly, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of trustee for the Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You don't actually, oh yeah, you do need to sign. Okay. All right. Okay, so at this time, I would like to ask for a nomination for a trustee to serve as president of the board. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Jen Daly.
Second. Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay. So the motion is to approve Jennnifer Daly as president of the Haldane Board of Education. Is that all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Jen?
All right. At
Congratulations.
this time, we need to take the oath of office again for you to be the president. So you're actually going to sign for this. This is going to be trustee and that's president. Okay, so here, just pretend your name is in there.
Okay. I, Jennnifer Daly, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of President of the Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay.
Okay, as my first duty as president is to call for the nomination for a vice president. Does anybody have a nomination? I'd like to nominate John Headland.
Second?
Second. Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you. Great.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, this is for you.
Perfect. Fantastic. I, John Headland, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Vice President of the Haldane Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll just sign it. Okay, thank you.
This is a busy meeting for Julia.
Can you take 30 seconds and talk about the book that we just signed, if only for Sean's benefit and for me, because I forgot everything from last year, because it was pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Well, this book is a very old oath book, and it contains the oaths of office back to, I believe, the 60s from folks who've worked in the district. 70. No, I see some from 1956 in here. So it's quite an old book. And I have to actually scratch out the part that says 19 and change it to a 20. So.
And that book was found recently, right? Like when we were when there was some renovation in the district office.
Yes. I know that a former clerk had been using the book, and then, yes, it was misplaced, and I was having people sign the oath of office on slips of paper, which I subsequently stuck in the book, so the record is still in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Julia, I'll turn it over to you for the appointments of the district clerk, clerk pro tem, etc.
Oh, okay. I'll read the recommendation. The recommended action is that the Board of Education appoints the following officers of the Board of Education effective, that date is wrong, July 1, 2019 through the July 2020 annual reorganization meeting at the stipends noted. District Clerk Julia Famularo, $9,020 with the additional $1,000 to be added if a second referendum is scheduled in any school year. 2, Clerk Pro Tem Ann Dinio, $500. 3, District Treasurer Ann Dinio, $8,000. 4, Deputy Treasurer Linda Dearborn, $5,000. 5, Tax Collector Jesse Desmarais, $5,125. 6, Claims Auditor Susan Hutter, $2,358.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm just going to interject for a moment outside the regular business agenda. Unfortunately, our school year, the new school year, starts July 1st. Started on a bit of a sad note as we learned that a longtime teacher's aide, Patricia Bujarski, who retired just last year, passed away on July 2nd. So with that, I'd ask for a moment of silence from the board and the members of our audience as our thoughts and prayers are with Patricia's family and friends at this time. So with that, we'll start a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Benante. I don't really have any comments except to say I'm excited to work with all of you. I welcome Sean McNall to our team. It's going to be a great adventure for all of us. Our next Board of Education business meeting will be held on Thursday, August 22nd at 2:30 p.m. That's an odd time, so I'll say it again. Thursday, August 22nd at 2:30, right here in this room 211, and then the board retreat will follow afterwards. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Benante.
Okay. I would like to welcome everybody back to a new school year. Congratulations, Ms. Daly and Mr. Headland, on your new appointments with the board. I look forward to our work together, and welcome Mr. McNall. Looking forward to your service as a trustee on the Board of Education. As Jen said, it should be a great adventure. This starts a very busy summer season for us. My father jokingly will always say to me, so, what do you do in the summer anyway? There's quite a lot that gets done in the summertime, and me and the administrative team were meeting last week, and I think there are over 20 separate projects that we're hard at work on through the summer months in closing out last school year and also in preparation for the upcoming school year. And all of this culminates in setting the administration's agenda for the 1920 school year, of which our Board of Education members are an important part. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer to the board retreat, as Jen just mentioned. I do want to make just some comments about the beautiful graduation ceremony that we had a couple of weeks ago. Don't want to get too far into the summer without recognizing the efforts of Mrs. Sniffen, her team, her administrative support staff, as well as our class advisors. We had a beautiful day here. It was picture-perfect ceremony right on our campus, filled with tradition, and our students and our families, I think, really enjoyed a beautiful ceremony. And the time and the effort that Julia and her team put into coordinating that ceremony is really evident in the event itself. So thank you all for being there. And I think, again, our kudos to the administrative team at Haldane High School for putting that together for our students. I know they really had a fantastic day with their families. And with that, that concludes my comments at this time, and we'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so the committee minutes are here, the technology committee minutes from June 10th. They're just for anyone's review. Is there any communication from the public at this time? No, everybody's melting in the audience.
Actually, I do have one question. I do. I was interested to read in the technology committee minutes that the high school is transitioning from a one-to-one model to a laptop model, and I mean, I think this is just part of the ongoing thinking about technology in the high school. I would anticipate that this decision was made based on experiences that you all have had, and just look forward to hearing, probably with Ms. Sniffen's presentation to the board next spring, how
Sure.
she thinks that that's going. I mean, I think a laptop model can be very, very effective for a laptop cart model can be really effective for schools. So I look forward to hearing about that.
And I would just ask that, I'll make note of it, but if you hold on to that, Peggy, because when we set the workshop agenda topics for the year, which we'll be doing at some point this summer, I think it would be one of our workshop items should be dedicated, or maybe a good idea to dedicate one of those topics to technology integration on campus, because I think the thinking has somewhat evolved over the years, so that very well may be worth its own space at a future workshop agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear from reading those committee minutes that with good reason, the district's continuing to make investments in technology. There was also a grant from the Haldane School Foundation that was related to technology. Clearly, and the laptop carts and tablets. And so clearly there's thinking going on about this. Not a surprise to you that this is something the board for a number of years has wanted to know more about. And so thanks. The minutes were very helpful. I appreciated them.
Okay, their information reports are here for anybody who's listening at home and for Sean's information. These reports are not to be acted on this meeting. We made a decision a couple of years ago, I guess at this point, that the board wanted to get the the financial reports a little early to be able to like really sit with them and digest them and ask questions if we had them. And Anne was nice enough to do that for us. So they're here for us to start reviewing, and if you have questions, to start asking them as needed, but there's no action on them tonight. Consent agenda minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda financial. May I have a motion, please?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
Second?
I do have a few things to point out in this agenda, but I'm going to point them out after we approve them. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So there are just some big ticket items in here that are nice to point out to the public. There is a approval of resolution number 2, first addendum agreement to the superintendent's contract. So these addendums are going to be on the website. They're on the website after we approve them. But just for the public's information, and maybe for Sean, the board goes through an extensive evaluation of the superintendent every year. This year, Peggy Clements led us through the process. It's a thorough process. The board reflects on Dr. Benante's service for the year, how he did, what worked, what didn't work. Dr. Benante reflects on his service, and we all get together and discuss, and we had a really healthy, productive process this year, and it resulted in the board wanting to offer the superintendent a raise. So we offered Dr. Benante a 2% raise to his salary, as well as an extension contract to 2023. And he graciously accepted those offers. And so the board was really thrilled about that, because we feel like we're on a good path, and we're excited that Dr. Benante is on that path with us and looking forward to continuing it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else to say about that piece?
I think this year Dr. Benante went through not only an extensive self-evaluation process, which is the job of the superintendent to do, but provided the board with really, really helpful information. Anybody can access the template or the protocol or the process that we use. It comes from the New York State School Boards Association. For each of the sets of criteria, it asks to sort of lay out what the evidence is for the statements being made, and the evidence that Dr. Benante provided was just really helpful, and quite honest, probably could have been much more extensive. I think we ended up talking, I don't know if you know this, but in our evaluation, we ended up talking about things that we knew of that you hadn't even put in there, that we thought were really very, very, very valuable. Meeting with students is one of the things that came up, for example. So I thought it was a really productive process, and we appreciate that.
I'm very proud of being a part of the Haldane community, and as I said to the board, it's important for me to make a long-term commitment to the school district as long as I can, and I'm thankful to the board for your consideration of that, and looking forward to at least 4 more years here in Haldane as of now, and appreciate your consideration. And I think we've done great work over the course of the school year, and something that's really important to a superintendent is the overall effectiveness and rapport of the Board of Education, and I think we have that here, and that's really special. So the more we create a sense of alignment between the administration and the Board of Education, I think we're only going to get bigger and better things done here, and I'm looking forward to talking more about that over the course of the next couple months. So thank you.
The other thing I want to point out is number 3, the approval of resolution, second addendum agreement for school business manager, Ms. Andinio. Ms. Dinio has been a exemplary business official on multiple levels. She's also, beyond the numbers though, she's been a real ballast at the school, a real committed, dedicated part of the team. She has a lot of connection to the staff here, and her heart, you can tell, is really at Haldane. And the board was really happy to offer her a 2% raise as well as a contract extension to 2023. There also are some shifts to her health insurance in there as well. But we were really pleased and happy to offer you those items, and we were very happy that you accepted them.
Thank you very much for your consideration of that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that I'm going to stay for all of the great things that are going to happen in the next 4 years.
It's the Benante
I wouldn't want to
Dinio
miss
years.
it.
Yes.
Doing our best there.
Yeah. And
you.
as a reminder, Dr. Benante's contract and Anne's contract are online if anyone wants to see them.
Or probably will be.
Will be.
Soon.
The addendums will be. The current contracts
Yeah.
are. And I want to turn it over to Dr. Benante to just make some mention of the number 21, which is the ratification of our agreement with the CSEA.
Yes, so this school year, the CSEA contract, which covers our maintenance and operations staff, as well as our teacher aides and our secretarial staff, most of our secretarial staff, was up. So we were at a point where we had to renegotiate the contract with the CSEA. Both Ann and I facilitated that process through the second part of the school year, and I can say it was a very we expressed from the beginning our desire to have a very collaborative win-win approach to this negotiation. I felt the CSEA was very good about engaging us constructively and listening to the district's concerns or demands, I guess we would say, or requests, I'll put it more mildly. And the administration was responsive to their requests as well. So I really do feel we arrived at a contract settlement that's reflective of what the CSEA values about their collective bargaining agreement, and also some things that the district was prioritizing in their future planning as well. So generally, the contract is reflective of a 2% increase in salary over the course of its over the span of its terms, which again is through June 30th, 2022. And a significant piece on the district end for us was moving the employees who were currently still on a fixed contribution to health insurance to a percentage-based contribution, which allows us in terms of our planning, because health insurance is something that is a bit of an unanticipated cost that's rising. And although we belong to a good consortium which helps mitigate the impact that has on school districts, moving to a percentage-based contribution will help us offset some of those increases or potential increases for some of our employees who still had that as part of their bargaining agreement in the future now. So that was something that we were appreciative of the CSEA's consideration of that. And again, we're glad we had the contract settled on time. Anytime you engage in a contract negotiation, you want it to settle before it concludes, and we were able to do that. So it's not carrying into the next school year. And overall, we're happy to move forward now.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Moving into unfinished business. So we have our retreat scheduled for Thursday, August 22nd. We as a board need to have a conversation about a location. And if there's any topics that we currently have in our minds, we can also, throw them out via email in between now and then. But if anybody has any thoughts in the moment, we can kind of chat them through now. So in terms of location, the past couple of years we've done it at Winter Hill. We've done like the meeting here. It's usually brief, and then we caravan to Winter Hill to have a little, just a different space, which I think has been effective. I don't know if Winter Hill's available. I don't know if you guys want to go back there.
I like Winter Hill. I should have thought to ask the owner of the old VFW hall because I know her, but that's actually another space that's a nice space. So I like Winter Hill very much. The problem with the afternoon at Winter Hill is the sun. It gets, it can be, what's nice about being at Winter Hill is sort of being in this nice location with windows, and if you're having to pull the curtains and stuff, that might not be ideal. But I'm certainly open to it, but the old VFW hall could be another place to do it as well. I don't know how much it costs.
Well, I know that Kim will make it available for to us at a good deal. We use it during the summer, Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival, and we'll be out of there by August 6th.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
I know
That's
it'll be
right. You guys
available.
are in there in the summer.
Yeah.
Well, one of us can
That's a
ask
good
it.
idea. Yeah. And often I think Linda usually does the arranging.
Actually, I handle the arrangements, so if you
Oh, do you do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do it. So if you want me to reach out to the owner of the old VFW hall, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, great. So maybe we'll use that as like a first step, and if it doesn't work out for some reason, we can look into Winter Hill. Does that sound good? So I guess, I don't know, we'd probably be there by 3:30?
Well, if the meeting's at 2:30.
Right.
We'd have to finish and be there. I don't know, are those meetings really just 45 minutes? Because really it's the business stuff. It's closing out
It's usually pretty quick.
Our anticipated agenda will include the public hearing for the Code of Conduct, and then the board's adoption of the Code of Conduct, ideally that evening, as well as any summer hires that we have, which we do have a few that we anticipate. And then a few other business items that will likely be on that agenda as well. But I think 45 minutes sparing, something of real concern regarding the Code of Conduct is probably realistic for that agenda.
So you're saying 4:30 or
3:30.
3:30, okay.
3:30.
And then in terms of topics, there are some standard things that we always talk about. We talk about goals for the year. We talk about workshop topics. We talk about committees. Outside of that, though, sometimes things come up throughout the year that we kind of note as oh, that'd be a good thing to talk about at the retreat. One thing that I'm thinking of that came up during Dr. Benante's evaluation was we talked about wanting to make sure that we were clear on protocols, communication protocols. That's always a good thing to talk about at a retreat. I don't know if anybody has any other things that they were.
I do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is something, I don't know if we need to do it at that, because we usually take our retreat and divide it up into a couple of pieces, right? And so I don't know if it needs to happen at this August one, or if it would make sense for us to do it later on in the year. But I think as long as I've been on the board, I think we could do a better job engaging in a systematic process of evaluating ourselves, like a board evaluation. And it could be helpful to have, I don't know I know NYSBA has a protocol for doing that. I don't know if we'd want somebody from NYSBA to come in, or if it's something that BOCES would do, but I think that would be a good thing for us to, I think we're getting better at a lot of things, and I think that's an area we could improve.
We also talked at some point along the way, Dr. Benante reminded me of this, of setting up some meeting protocols in terms of communication from the public. Not that we get a lot of communication from the public, but it would be nice to make sure that we know what's expected in terms of, do we want people to sign in, or is there a 2-minute minimum? Is there what can and cannot be talked about publicly? Just to make sure that we are really clear on that in the instance that we get communication from the public. So if anybody has any other thoughts in between now and then.
Not procedural things, but things I think the board and the administration should consider over the course whether we want prioritizing and whether or not we want to tackle and whether we have the capacity to tackle over the course of the next year. But I'll send them in an email.
Okay, I think that gives us enough to go on in terms of setting an agenda. Yeah. Is there any communication from the public at this time? Okay, so we're going into new business, CSE, CPSE recommendations. Ms. Famularo?
Okay. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendation of the Committee on Preschool Special Education and the Committee on Special Education as presented.
Can I have a motion, please?
So
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Going into the approval of the resolution for the appointment of impartial hearing officers.
Okay.
Is that also, yeah, that's you.
The recommended action is, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the following. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby delegate to the President and Vice President of the Board authority to appoint impartial hearing officers from the rotational list of impartial hearing officers, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education be notified of any such appointments as soon as practicable and as such has been made.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
For my benefit, because now I'm a vice president, need to pay attention to these things. Impartial hearing officers will be used under what circumstances?
In cases where involving special education,
Okay.
where there maybe is there's a concern on the part of the family or the school district
Yep.
about the recommended program for a particular student.
Yep.
It's a process that the parents or the school district can engage through the state to essentially arbitrate that the recommended action that's come through the CSE. The state has a list of approved hearing officers who will hear the
State
case.
manages the list.
Yep. You know, in talking about whether or not this is necessary, it's in the off chance that prior to a board meeting, because the timeline is very important
Right, I
in
was
this,
just gonna
it's
ask.
dictated by
Yep.
law, and I don't have it exactly in mind, but there are a few cases or a few situations when we look at the calendar for next year where technically we may need to have an impartial hearing if this were to occur, where it would fall outside the window of having the next regular board meeting.
Yep.
And just being able to do it at a board meeting where we may need
So you have one.
someone to be appointed, yes, to do it, so we
So
don't get held up on a
does-
procedural thing.
You may or may not know this off the top of your head. Does the appointment or the request to appoint an impartial officer affect that timeline, or does it have to continue to stay within the timeline for?
Ask me that again, just so I
So
understand. I'm sorry.
if either the district or the parents say we want an impartial officer, does that then add time to the timeline, or it needs to continue?
Starts the timeline.
It starts the timeline.
Yes,
Okay,
at that
great.
point.
Great. All right. Thank you.
The approval of the Board of Education meeting and workshop dates for 1920. So typically our meetings are on the first and third Tuesday of every month. When those meetings happen to fall during a break, we reschedule them, and that's what this agenda item is. So, Ms. Famularo?
Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the following changes to the dates for their meetings as follows. February 18, 2020 workshop meeting moves to Tuesday, February 26, 2020 due to midwinter recess. And April 7, 2020 business meeting moves to Tuesday, to Tuesday, April 14, 2020 due to spring recess. Sorry about that.
Can I have a motion, please? Any discussion?
Yeah, wait 1 second. Is it February 25th or February 26th? You said one and it works as the other.
26th?
25th is a
It's
Tuesday.
the 25th, Tuesday the 25th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
That's all right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The approval of the resolution authorizing the continuation of the Board of Education policies and bylaws.
As you know, you approve this every year. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the following resolution to wit. Resolved that the Board of Education of the Haldane Central School District 15 Craigside Drive, Cold Spring, New York, hereby authorizes the continuation in force of the Board of Education policies and bylaws adopted and/or amended as of June 30, 2018, including Board Policy 6110, Code of Ethics for all school personnel. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education policies and bylaws hereby shall be subject to continuing review and shall be amended as necessary in accordance with procedures as set forth in the bylaws. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So back to that question. June 30th, 2018 or June 30th, 2019?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, I think you said I don't know which, but it's like as of 3 days ago, right?
Yes. Yes, 2019 it should be.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So now we're going into the authorization to renew the audit committee charge. This is the only committee that we make sure is in place for July 1st. All the other ones we deal with along the way. I'll turn it over to Ms. Femler.
The recommended action is that the Board of Education reauthorizes the audit committee and charge as presented for 2019-2020.
May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Actually, I
Oh,
discussion,
go ahead.
sorry. So I know I've read the charge in the past. One of the things the charge says is appointing the chair of that committee. And is that when do we need to do that today? Like, I to be honest with you, I don't remember. The charge says, my reading of the charge today, says that we need to appoint the chair of that committee. Tom Campanelle has served as the chair of that committee for a long time, but I don't know if we have ever formally.
Asked him officially to continue?
Well, at least I didn't even at the very least I didn't see it like in today's agenda meeting for us to appoint him as chair. And
Yeah, it's a
Am
good
I-
point.
am
I'm
I
not really
not-
sure. Ann, do you know where we're at with Tom?
the committee. Okay, then I must have read the
believe,
charge incorrectly because I
So,
thought the charge
I
said that the board does it.
That
but
has
I
been our
can't get
practice.
online, so I can't even look at it. Sorry.
It says the chairperson will be appointed annually by the board.
Okay.
But I don't know that it says that it has to happen. It doesn't give it a date, like has to happen.
So it could be a recommendation from the committee and the board appoints it after.
Yeah, that's typically what happens is the committee makes a recommendation. We all say, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Tom. And then
that
we
could be how we've done it in the
approve
past,
them, right?
That makes sense.
It happens over that meeting that happens in the summer.
Okay, that makes
So-
sense. That it would, and then we would appoint him at the August meeting then, maybe. Okay. However, being part of that committee, it was something that arose to me that I didn't remember being aware of in the past, and I just wanted to make sure that we were following that appropriate protocol. So now I'm ready to vote on the charge.
all those in favor?
Aye.
So because our audit committee charge has been renewed, now we appoint our board member representatives to that committee. This committee has 2 board representatives. I think we spoke briefly about it at our last meeting, about who might want to continue or not
I'm
continue.
happy to stay. I'm happy to stay because, well, this is the easy one for me, and this is why I was offering it to you. I wasn't pitching you. I was offering to you. No, because it only meets a few times a year and it always meets in the evening, which is
Done and done.
that works for me, and I know that works for you.
That's great.
But I'm happy to stay on. Now that you've taken on vice president, you may not want to take this on too.
If you,
I'm happy to stay on.
all right. Why
I
don't
was
you
just
stay
making
on?
an offer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your offer. Why don't you stay?
And I will
You do
stay
so
as-
well.
And I'm willing to stay as well. I actually think I like that committee. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad there's so much energy and
Around the audit
fighting,
committee.
fighting over the audit committee. This is new. I've never seen the fight over the audit committee.
I don't know if we're fighting over it.
But I will also say that it's also a really great thing for a new board member to do as well, because it really helps you to understand the financial perspective. So if, Sean, you can't sneak in this year, maybe next year would be a good.
Put it in my
Put it on the planner for next
Just table
year.
it for a year from
That's
now.
right.
Okay, so
I think it would be really hard for Sean to be on the committee until he's done his financial training. I think next year makes a lot of sense. I don't remember it typically being recommended for somebody in their first year of board service. I think there's some stuff to get used to, even in terms of like having a whole year to pay attention and like read the financial reports. It is a good preparation for then understanding it's a pretty technical committee. So, yeah.
okay, so Margaret and Peggy are volunteering.
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to do that? Yes, go.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools of the Board of Education appoints Dr. Peggy Clements and Ms. Margaret Parr to serve on the Haldane Audit Committee for 2019-2020.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Westchester Putnam School Boards Association liaison. So this is, so the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association is an organization for all of the Westchester schools and all of the Putnam County schools. And they do two things. The one thing they do is legislative advocacy. So they're the ones going to Albany, organizing, saying, take this out of your budget, put this in your budget. And they're a big advocacy group. The other thing that they do is they support school boards. So they offer continuing education. We've all, I think, engaged in some of their workshops and trainings. So those are the two things that they do. Those are their branches. Every year they ask for a board member to participate as a liaison to them. Typically our board says, can somebody else do it, like superintendent? But this year, I'm actually on the Westchester Putnam School Board of Directors. So it makes a lot of sense for me to serve as that liaison.
Perfect.
So I'm happy to do that unless anyone else would like to do that.
No one's fighting on that one.
No one's fighting over that one.
Fighting over audit.
Actually, Jen, when you say this, it's something else we haven't paid attention to in the past. Yes, WIPSBA does that, but so does NYSBA. And I think a lot of what NYSBA does and a lot of what happens at the annual convention is about their legislative agenda. And so the one thing that I don't know if we've ever paid attention to as a board, but I'd like to encourage us to do it this year, is in advance of the October convention, they send out. One of the things that happens is that at the convention is a representative from each board goes and literally votes on what topics they want NYSBA to lobby about for the year. And it's an interesting meeting. But we get all those in advance. And my guess is nobody will go to the convention this year because it's in Rochester. I mean, I'm not thinking about going this year. 'Cause
I'm
it's
not
in
volunteering to go to Rochester.
I mean, I like going, but I'm not going to go this year. But it's, I don't know. I'll just have to, I'm just making a note that when that comes across our desk, I would actually like for us to at least, yeah, I mean, to talk it through. It's a long document, but I think it's an important document to make sure that we're all aware of. And so at the very least, when you don't send a representative, you then by default vote the way that the NYSBA organization voting, because they actually come in and say, we're recommending that these be passed and we're recommending that these don't be passed. And by not sending somebody, you sort of go with NYSBA. But I still think it's a really educative process for me to have gone the past couple of years. So,
Thanks, Peggy.
pinning that
Yeah.
out of any order whatsoever. Sorry.
No, that's
Related.
relevant.
Related.
The Haldane Central School District wide safety plan.
If I
Did you wanna-
may, yes, and I put this under new business, although it may not had been the best spot for it because it doesn't require any action on the board's part.
You get to take a rest.
Right. But each year we are required to post, by law, to have the district-wide safety plan posted and available for a public comment period prior to the board adopting it. Also required by law is the board should be adopting the district-wide safety plan prior to September 1st. So in order to meet both of those procedural requirements, we're making note of it here in the board agenda tonight. It will also be posted on the district website beginning next week, available for public comment, or a public comment period. Doesn't have to happen through a board meeting, but could. And then at our next board meeting in August, it will be on for adoption at that point with any modifications based on public comment that we have received up to that point. Alteris has been instrumental in helping us create this document that's now in compliance with certain state mandates. One of the issues that every district faced over the last couple of years was making sure their plans were adapted to a new state template and met certain requirements the state has established as the state continues to reevaluate school safety. So Alteris has been a big help in that. And then members of the district safety committee were helpful to me in looking through the draft that Alteris created based on our information to further elaborate where needed, further adapt the plan to be reflective of what we do here in Haldane. So that is now set. You'll note that the draft does say August on it, just simply because we plan for it to be a draft in August that we're working on. It's still a living document before we make final changes to it. There's also space in there for that's reflective of identifying new board members and that have come on. So we'll be sure to make those adjustments to it. In addition to this, we are working on our building safety plans, which will also be up for board action in August as well. Those do not require a public comment period. Those are sealed to some extent. They're not publicly available because they contain more sensitive information about safety and security processes for each of our schools. But those will also be coming before the board in addition to the district-wide safety plan in August for action.
Phil, you just mentioned a public comment period. So I can't remember, this is the draft safety plan it's in the public portion of the.
It will be.
It will be in the
Yes,
public
and it will
portion.
also be posted on our website.
Okay, so then folks do have the opportunity
Correct.
to review it and
Correct.
and be in touch with the district or to
Yep.
come. Obviously, I guess we'd want people to be in touch with the district before the August meeting,
Correct.
so that we could then act on
Right,
it
so-
on the August 22nd meeting.
Right, so that does not mean they have to speak at a public board meeting.
Right.
They could reach out to me directly and they'll be prompted to if they have any questions or concerns about the document itself. And then I will likely, when it's posted on the district website, send out an email blast to the community making note that this is now on the district website for their review. The public comment period has commenced, and the board will be acting on the district-wide safety plan at its anticipated action on the August 22nd agenda, or 23rd, whatever that August meeting date is.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any further communication from the public? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a matter made confidential by the FERPA law. No action will be taken during this session. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.